everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I've been married to a covert narcissist for almost 20 years. I'm separated from him now, and what I do with this channel is I use my real life experiences to get information out there to people about what narcissism really is, what it looks like, what it does to you, and what it does to your family. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what it feels like to be on the other side of narcissistic abuse, what it feels like to be free. For so long, for years, I was in this relationship and I was desperately unhappy. I didn't believe I could get out of the relationship. I saw other people get out of relationships. I knew other people were able to have the courage to leave a bad relationship, but I really, truly believed that I couldn't leave. My message to anybody who is in that situation right now is it's not true. You can leave. You don't have to stay in a bad relationship. I know it seems like you can't get out, but it's all a lie. When you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you are in a relationship with an abusive person. Narcissists are manipulators. They're thieves of joy. They take your life and they decide what happens to you. They take your life. They take your choices. They take your confidence and they steal it for themselves. They leave you feeling helpless, like a victim. It's not true. Who you are is not determined by the narcissist. The truth is that anybody who is in a relationship with a narcissist is sitting in a prison cell with an open door. Now, I recognize, I know this personally. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, all right, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm headed out of here. I understand that. But my point in today's video is that everybody can get out. Everybody. Now, several people have emailed me and asked me to share my story, how I got out of my narcissistic relationship. So I'm going to share that story with you today. For me, God rescued me out of my relationship. I wasn't able to do it on my own, but I really want to offer hope to anybody in this type of relationship. Whether God rescues you or not, you can get out. Everybody has a spark inside of them. You just need to reach that spark. You need to see the narcissist for who they are. Once you do that, once you see who this person really is, you're 80% there. So I'm going to go into my relationship and tell you what happened. Then I'm going to tell you what it feels like to be out of the relationship. You have a new lease on life. It is a beautiful reality. It is never too late. There's a better time and a worse time. The earlier you can get out of the relationship, the better. But it really doesn't matter if you are 90 years old. I would tell you exactly the same thing. Being free of a narcissist is going to be the best thing you can do for yourself, your family, your children, anybody. Freedom is where it's at. And I want everybody to feel the way that I've been able to feel now that I'm out of this relationship. Now, I was with my ex for 20 years. We started dating in 2001. We got married in 2002. Right from the beginning, there were red flags that I should have been aware of. So I can't sit here and tell you that I didn't see these red flags. But as the relationship progressed, it got worse. And this is what's going to happen in any relationship like this, because the reality is that narcissists are mentally ill. They're not all there. They can't be a real partner. So if you're in a relationship and only one person can be a partner, there is no relationship. Narcissists are liars. They're manipulators. They will take everything from you. So in order to have a happy life, in order to have a life that brings you pleasure and you can be the best version of yourself, you can't be with the narcissist. Now, in my relationship, things really started changing in 2016. This is where God stepped in and really helped me out. So one day, I was getting ready. I was in my bathroom, I was getting ready, and I was listening to the radio. This was the day that Prince died. All of a sudden, the radio announcer announced that Prince had died. Right away, my mind went to a prior relationship that I had. I went to an ex of mine. Now, This relationship, I really believed the end of the relationship was his fault. I had myself 100% innocent. My ex was 100% guilty. When he announced that Prince died, the announcer, my first thought went to this ex because we used to listen to Prince together. And over the next 2 months, I went through absolute hell. I had to go through the loss of this relationship because I realized I never had. But God needed me to do this so that I could get to a place where I could deal with the relationship that I was currently in. So for roughly 2 months, I went through this whole process where I eventually came to the realization that actually I was not innocent in the relationship ending. I was guilty. It was my fault. So I did a 180-degree, a complete flip. Instead of him being guilty, I was guilty. That was very painful. And at one point, it was kind of this weird thing that happened as I was going through the relationship. Now, I was married to somebody else. I had kids, I had a home. All of a sudden, one day, I felt this intense desire to go home. Now, I used to live with my ex in California. So I really believe, the way I was thinking, I could go home. I could go to California and pick up where I left off. I missed this person. I wanted to go home. Now, I realized that I couldn't do that home didn't exist. He wasn't in California. We weren't together anymore. It wasn't the 90s. But in my mind, I wanted to be there. It was a really traumatic experience. I had to go lock myself in the bathroom and calm myself down because I knew I couldn't do this. But I live in New Hampshire right now. I wanted to get in my car, drive to the airport, and get on a plane and go to California. That was how intense I was feeling. That was the end of dealing with it, though, thank God. But I came to the realization, I processed that relationship. I was now in a position where I could deal with the relationship that I was in now. I was starting to see everything in my life realistically. So when it came to my husband now, I started to see him for who he really was. And at this point, I stopped giving him supply. This really was a catalyst for the end of the relationship when this happened. When I stopped giving him supply, he didn't know what to do. I realized that I was the relationship. So if you're with a narcissist, you are the relationship, because somebody who's mentally ill can't be in a relationship. There's no mutual relationship there. It's completely one-sided. So when I stopped forgiving him for stealing money from me, from stealing money from the kids, when I stopped forgiving him for ignoring me, when I stopped being okay with his drinking, he couldn't handle it. So I was getting at that point near constant silent treatments. It was horrible. But there was a big part of me that didn't care. This was the thing. Any love that I had for this person started going away. I wouldn't sleep with him anymore. He was living down in the basement. It was very miserable at the end of the relationship, but I was starting to get my freedom. Prior to this, he was the one in control. He was the one who would tell me how I was allowed to feel. I was miserable. I was feeling horrible in the relationship. I was beaten down, basically. It started to flip at this point. Now, this is a gradual process. This was a 3-year process, but it eventually got me my freedom. So as we moved forward, it became 2018. Now, in 2018, this is when I realized what narcissism was. Shanann Watts was murdered by her husband, Chris Watts, in Colorado in August. When this first happened, I had heard of what happened, but I didn't know anything about narcissism. All I knew was that a pregnant woman was missing, and later it turned out that her husband killed her. It wasn't until I started reading the text messages that she was sending her friends, when I started hearing about what had gone on in their relationship, I recognized my own relationship. I owe Shanann Watts a lot for my own freedom. Because of what she went through, I recognize what has gone on in my life, and I hope that she can be a catalyst for you as well. If you look into her story and you recognize yourself in this, please don't take that lightly. She died. We still have the blessing of being alive. I recognize myself in that situation. I saw somebody else was going through exactly what I was. I didn't know anybody else who was going through this. I never heard of this. Prior to this, I would have thought narcissism was just somebody who was vain. And now suddenly here was somebody who was living my life. I recognized this life. I knew then what was wrong with my husband. I understood this is not ever going to get better, and maybe he could be dangerous. But I still stayed. He was living in the basement, but I still stayed in the relationship. My progress wasn't complete yet. It took another year. The summer of 2019 was really when things started changing in my relationship. This was really the beginning of the end. My ex stopped coming home. So he would just not come home. He would leave to go to work, and then he wouldn't come home for several days. This went back and forth throughout the summer. He missed our son's birthday. He didn't care. I mean, these were things that were incredibly painful to me and the kids, because at this point, it was the three of us. The two kids and myself were living a completely separate life than my husband was. He would come and go as he wanted. He was living in the basement. He was barely talking to me. He wasn't having anything to do with the kids. It was a miserable summer. In August of 2019, one night, he didn't come home as usual. I just went to bed as usual, and I was awakened by the police. My ex was up the street with a loaded gun, drunk out of his mind. Somebody called the police, and he was carted off to a mental hospital. That really was the beginning of the end. When he was at the mental hospital, I was distraught. It was a horrible experience, and I didn't want him home. I felt, though, that I was stuck. I still felt trapped. Like I told you, God personally rescued me, and I'm going to tell you what happened. But I felt trapped. I spoke to my pastor about this, and he told me, he's like, Sharon, don't let him come home. Don't do it. What are you doing? You don't have to let him do this. And I'm telling you the same thing my pastor told me. You don't have to be in this relationship. You don't have to do this. I still did it. There was this person, he was in a mental hospital. I didn't want him home. I still let him come home, though. God hadn't pulled me all the way out yet, but I was there. I was so close to being ready for this. So that happened in August. In October, so between August and October, it was still the same thing. He was in and out of the house. He wasn't coming home. It was so miserable. And one night I was in tears. I was distraught, and I started praying. God just prompted me to read my Bible. I opened up my Bible at random, right? So I just opened it up, and I opened it up to Nahum. Nahum, chapter 1, verse 12. Although I have afflicted you, I will afflict you no more. Now I will break the yoke from your neck and tear your shackles away. I knew at that moment that God had broken my wedding vows for me. I knew it. I just knew it right then. I was in awe and shock that this had happened. And in fact, the next day I told my pastor about it. I was in the small group at church. I was telling everybody about it. I was very open about the situation. People were in shock that this had happened to me. I knew it. They knew it. He broke my vows. At that point, I knew it was only a matter of time. I wasn't sure how this was going to happen, but I knew that I wasn't married anymore. Then December hit. And just 2 months after this was the last day that we were together. I've made other videos about this, so I'm just going to be brief about it. We had a big fight. I had to call the police because he was hurting himself in front of me, in front of the kids. He blamed me for it. He told the police that I had beat him up, had Child Protective Services in. It was a whole ordeal. At that point, I kicked him out of the house, and it was over. That was the last day that we lived together. But I had the 3-year progression. I needed God to get me out of the relationship. I'm telling you, God might do that for you too, and I know he's going to support you, but don't wait for God to move. You can do this. God pulled me out of the relationship. I believed I was stuck. I believed I wouldn't be able to make it. I've been without my ex for 1.5 years now. I'm making it. I'm doing it. All these things I thought I couldn't do, all these bills I thought I couldn't pay. I've been paying them. Now it's not easy. I'm not trying to say that you'll be out of a relationship with a narcissist and life will be easy for you. But I am here to tell you, when you are not with the narcissist, the difference in your stability is night and day. You can breathe. You don't feel this heavy weight of grief and pain and trauma and fright on you. Without my ex in my life, I'm free. I feel like I've lost 100 pounds. It's an amazing feeling. And I want everybody to feel this. Without having him here with me and the kids, my kids and I have thrived. I'm a completely different person. You will get your life back when you're not with a narcissist anymore. I have lots of friends. I have people in my life. I was at a point before when I was still with my ex that if I had a problem, I didn't have anybody to call. I couldn't have called anybody. Now there are people for me to choose from to call. I got my life back. I'm free. I have people in my life. I'm happy. My kids are happy. It's a new life. I'm not walking on eggshells anymore. I know who I am. I have an appreciation for life. I see life in color now. I can breathe. I want this for all of you. Don't stay in the relationship as long as I did. Don't wait for somebody to rescue you, for God to rescue you. And maybe he will, and maybe somebody else can help you. But you have the power to do this. All along, I had this inside of myself, but I didn't know. I didn't feel it. I didn't believe it, but it was there. If you can cultivate your own positivity, if you can think about what you deserve, and what you deserve, my way of looking at what you deserve is, what do you offer other people? What type of person are you? Be that person and love yourself. Think what you would do if it was somebody else. Think of what you would do if it was your child. Would you want your child in this relationship? Would you want your child to suffer the way that people suffer when they are with narcissists? If you are with a narcissist, you have all the power in the relationship anyways. You just don't know it. I'm telling you, the way that I feel now is night and day. It is such freedom. Now, I know it's not easy to get here, and I know there are hurdles that you have to overcome, and there's loneliness and there's fear. There is. The first 2 months when I was out of the relationship, it was particularly traumatic because I was also dealing with a Child Protective Services investigation. I was scared. It was Christmas. I didn't know how I was going to buy presents for my kids and how I was going to pay bills, but it all worked out. This will happen to you too. Nobody regrets leaving a narcissistic relationship. I want to offer hope to everybody. You are always one choice away from a completely different life. Now, I hope this video helped somebody realize what they have the capability to do. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. Please send me an email. I can make another video with more specifics if you want. I want to go over this briefly because I want people to have hope. I want you to know that you can do this. It doesn't matter who you are, what your circumstances are, how old you are. Everybody can get freedom. And there's more to my story that I'm going to tell as the months go on. Really good things are happening for me right now, and I want to share that with everybody. I am going to be going through my divorce this summer, so that's looming ahead too. But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid anymore because I'm free. Freedom is such a blessing that I want everybody to feel. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and if all goes well, I will see you on Monday. Please grab the hope that you can make a difference in your life, because I know you can. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.